Hey everybody, this is Joel Hoekstra of Whitesnake. Welcome back to the School of Rock, where of course we must include a little bit of blues within the School of Rock, right? Now, I know a lot of rock players tend to just really know like, well, it's blues, let's solo in the pentatonic scale over it. And that's fantastic. I mean, no one loves the pentatonic scale more than me. But I did want to give you guys some alternate options in ways to look at note choice over a 12-bar blues today. Okay, and that is through using dominant 7 arpeggios. Now, whether or not you know it, when you're outlining a blues, when you're playing a chug rhythm, you're really outlining an A7 chord or an A major chord, an A dominant chord, essentially, okay? Without going too far into the theory, that's a major triad with a flat 7, okay? You can hear that even has kind of a little bit of that blues sound to it. I moved that from an A to a D and you could hear the change, right? That's what's neat about these arpeggios is you'll actually hear the changes go by without a rhythm behind you, as opposed to the pentatonic, which you really kind of need to hear the changes behind you to have it make sense, what you're playing in terms of note choice. Anyway, another huge thing with the blues thing is learning to have that rub from minor to major, right? Right? You know, the joke. Anytime you're playing that dominant chord, going minor third to major third, well, that's a huge thing in terms of sounding bluesy with your note choice. So what I did was I took those 4 notes of the dominant 7 arpeggio, which happen to repeat here. We kind of run out of room in this position. It would continue up. But I also wanted to include that minor third going up to the major third because I think it's such an important part of that blues sound. So here, this would be the standard A7 arpeggio. Okay, in 4th position essentially, or starting at the 5th fret. But now I'm also going to include okay, so we're going 5 on the low E. We're going to go 3 to 4 with a slide on the A, 7 on the A, 5 on the D, 7 on the D, 5 to 6 on the G. So we have so far, okay, 5, 8 on the B, and then 5, 8 sliding up to that major third. You can see immediately, looking at it, assuming we're, you know, jamming with, that gives you just a nice sound in terms of hearing that A change behind you, right? Okay. Now, with the D, when the A blues would change to a D chord, I want to just focus on what that D7 arpeggio would be. Now, D, the first note that, the root note is right here, obviously, 5 on the A string, but there are pickup notes surrounding it lower that are within those 4 notes. I want to play 5, 8 on the low E. Now here's 5, 4, 7, 5, 7, 7, 5, 8. Okay, there's your D7 arpeggio. You know, even if it's just one note, if you're playing in pentatonic, you can hear going there, you kind of hear the D chord. Okay, now let's get into getting that minor third to the major third with this, okay? So we're going to go 5, 8, 5, we're going to go 3, 4 here, and 7, 5, 7, 6 up to 7, 5, and 8 on the high E, okay? So here's that whole thing. You can really hear the changes, can't you? Listen to the A going to the D. Okay? just a whole different world for me than which is all fantastic. I love all that, but this is really a neat perspective on a way you can play over these changes. All right, so of course we've got A to D for the first part of the blues. A to D, back to A, back to D, back to A. Now eventually we're gonna go to the 5 chord, right? The E chord. So I wanna work on our E7 arpeggio. Once again, we've got the root note happening right here. 7 on the A, and it would look like 7, 6, 4, 7, 5, 4, 7. Okay, but there are pickup notes once again. So I would like to start on the low E, having 4, 7. There would be the E7 without that minor third to the major third thing. That makes it sound bluesy. You can really hear the changes, right? You hear those changes? Just me playing through it very squarely. Anyway, let's work on going minor third to major third now with the E. Okay, so there's our E7 arpeggio. 4, 7, 5, 7. Now we're going to go 5, 6. There's that minor third to major third. 4, 7, 5, 3 to 4, and then 7. Okay, so what I wanted to do below was give you guys just an example, and what I tried to do was do something with constant movement. That way you had as many ideas as possible out of it. Now think of these as a bunch of little individual licks. I don't know that necessarily what I'm playing in the exercise below would be a take of a blues solo, if that makes sense. But if you can learn to pull from that and find some licks that go with these chords, I think that's where you're going to get the most out of this lesson. Okay, but for the time being, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to play this exercise below, and I want you to just note how much you can actually hear the changes of the blues happening behind it, which I think is just the neatest perspective on what we're doing here with these dominant 7 arpeggios. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, obviously we avoided any standard Chuck Berry licks for the most part, maybe a couple in there that were similar, but you can really hear the changes, which I think is neat. So let's take a look at what we got there. That first bar on A7, I just want to work the top of the arpeggio, pulling off. Okay. And right here, heading down to the D7 arpeggio for that second bar, okay? So 8 to 5, 7 on the B, right? Now I'm gonna go 5, 7 on the G, 7 on the B, 7, 5 on the G, and 7, 5, and then 7 on the D. So 3, 4. Okay, now we're heading back to A. I'm going to really focus a lot on this minor third to major third thing because I think it's a huge part of what we're going for. This is really kind of a random exercise that I wrote out for you guys, so I'm kind of learning it here as I go. And now climbing the full arpeggio on the next one. So right here we've got 5, 6, 5, 8 to 5. Once again, the 5 to 6, 7 to 5, 7 on the A, then 3 to 4 on the A. And then just going right up the A7 arpeggio. Okay, now with the D7, we're heading back to a D chord in the progression, right? I'm going to go 6 to 7 on the B. Now I'm going to take these two notes. So 6 to 7 and then 5 on the high E. I'm getting 7 on the B and 8 on the E. Now, which fits right out of our pentatonic, right? There's where you really hear the D chord, right? By getting that F sharp note, right? You hear that D change from that. So, back to A. Okay, so I'm really beating that one into the ground, the 5 to the 6. But it's just really a cool one that I think it should be ingrained in your blues playing. So 5, 6, 7. Then we're going to climb the arpeggio and then do it again. And I'm going to go. So once again, the 5 to 6 on the G. And I had to throw in a bend somewhere. I couldn't have it be constant motion. Constant motion got a little monotonous, even for this exercise thing. I did want to give you guys as many licks as possible, though. So anyway, those 2 bars of A. Now let's take a look at E. We're going to start on 7 on the high E, which again, that's outside of the pentatonic, isn't it? Like if we were playing right there, you necessarily wouldn't think of playing that if you were soloing thinking pentatonic. I definitely wouldn't think of that, right? Right, you would be thinking here. So this is obviously getting you to think something different in terms of your approach. Anyway, 7, 3 to 4, 5 on the B, 7 to 4 on the G, 5 to 6 on the D, 7 on the A, and then we're going to get 7 on the E, 5 to 7 on the A. So we have okay, now we're going to climb the D7 arpeggio. Actually, just the triad of it for now. 5 on the A and 4 to 7 on the D. Now I wanted to go. So basically I'm taking the low note of that arpeggio and I'm bending it to the top note of it, right? Okay. So we have. Okay, there's a cool bluesy feeling kind of lick that happens through it. Now I'm going to take this piece of A. Now this part of, so that is 7 to 6 and then 5 to 6. Now this D, so we're down there on that F sharp where you really hear the D change. Now an actual A7 chord pulled out of that arpeggio. Those are just 3 notes right out of the arpeggio. That's 7 on the D, 6 on the G, and 6 or 8 on the B rather. Okay, so A7 to E7. So the whole thing one more time for you. So anyway, I hope you guys dig this approach to playing over a blues, and I hope you get a lick or two out of it. It doesn't always have to be exactly what I wrote. My lessons are conceptual in nature here at Guitar World. So hopefully there's something you dig. I thank you all for your support and for tuning in and checking this lesson out. Thank you to Guitar World for having me, and I'll catch you guys next time.